Hello everyone. Today we are so glad to have Abhilasha Gupta as our guest speaker. She has done her internship at Barclays and will be sharing her experiences with us. So we will start with the first question. So how did you got to know about this opportunity?
So when second year got over and third year started, the TNP section of our college, they had started posting various opportunities on their notice board. So as a part of like the campus placements for internships, we had gotten to know about this opportunity.
And how many rounds were there for the selection procedure?
So for the selection procedure, first they have like the online assessment round where they ask you a few MCQs, about like 10 MCQs and two coding questions. And the next round is basically an interview round, which is like a mix of technical and HR, which lasts like about 45 minutes to 1 hour. So where they will test you on your live coding skills. They will ask you about your projects, your resumes, what you have done as a part of your co-curricular activities, how you exhibit their rises values. So they play a lot of importance in that.
Okay. Could you please highlight which kind of questions were there in the online test and the interview?
Yeah, so as a part of those MCQs, they were ranging from like uh, DSA questions, computer networks, OS, and some logical questions. And moving on to the coding questions that were there were only two coding questions, and they were based on graphs and trees. But I think they were like of medium level, so I would say that it's not really hard to crack those. And moving on to the technical interview, so they were more focused on asking, how well you know your concepts rather than asking the entire code. So they would like ask you basic things like, reversing a linked list, and they want to see your approach. They will ask you, can you do it like in a more efficient manner? So, they'll force you to just go on concepts and not on the actual coding. Also, they asked me a few puzzles, like logical puzzles, like, if this is the uncle and aunt, those kind of problems, or, the value of A and B they've given me. So, what are the possible combinations of a multiplication? So, some logical questions were there. And then they also asked me about my co curricular activities, as, I was a part of SWE in college. So, they asked me, what kind of activities you do, and, what events do you like to take part in. So they also try to see how well you gel up with people. And they give some situational questions also, like, it happens in the HR round. So they'll ask you if, maybe your friend has fallen ill in a project, so how do you manage that? So they want to see how well you react to situations also. So those are like some of the questions they asked me.
Okay. And what was the cutoff for the MCQ test?
So they don't actually declare the cutoffs, but I think, uh, the coding questions have a little more weightage than the MCQ test. So I was able to solve both the coding questions, and MCQs were, I think, pretty, I think, decent. So not very hard, not very easy.
Okay. Was there any GPA criteria?
There was the CGPA criteria of 7 CGPA when I had applied. So they see your CGPA till second year, like after second year. So they want a CGPA of 7 plus.
Okay. So what kind of projects you had on your resume?
So as a part of college curriculum, we had done like a few projects based on website making. And so that was one of my projects. Like, it was like a portfolio website where, you can make a website for your own self, highlighting what you have done and what are your activities, and what are your hobbies, what are your achievements, and that. So that was one of that project, which was based on HTML, CSS. uh, Another of my project, which was like a major project, was it was a management system for a housing society, where I had used data structure within a data structure, and we had made it a little different than the generic one. So that, in the interview, that gave me a good point of discussion. So they would ask me, what kind of data structures have you implemented? So I would say, a map within a map, and then they would ask me, oh, how did you do that, what was your approach? So that was another project. Also, we were doing an employee contractor based project where we were making it for a company, and they wanted like how to onboard an employee, and how they can apply for leaves on that portal. So it was like a full stack project where we had like database involved, front end, back end, and the connectivity, cloud. So that was another interesting project for me to tell everybody.
And how did you came to know about this opportunity of building a project for a company?
So it started with Loop in college. They are a club which does project based competitions and all. So that's when I formed like a team, and then we got to know about the project. And I had like a few friends in college who were interested in doing a project. So I think projects are a very good way of implementing your knowledge that you gain from classes and all. So till you don't apply them into real life, you don't know how it is working, right? So I think projects are a great way of doing your academics.
Okay, so any resume and project tips?
So for resume, it would basically be like make it simple, not like the fancy ones that you see all over the internet. I mean, don't get very inclined towards those fancy ones. I think a simple one pager one is all they need. It should have like all your basic details so that the interview just knows what is there on your resume, and they know a basic gist, right? So they don't need to ask you again and again. I would also say that mention everything in short so that the interview also has like an opportunity to ask you about some details in some of the things in detail. So if you're mentioning your project, don't mention your entire project in like 5 paragraphs. Just mention it in short so that he can have an interest and ask you about like what exactly was the project, or where did you win some award or something like that. Also, keep a section for your co-curricular activities and achievements. They do make a difference. Try to take part in as many curricular activities you can do in college or otherwise outside. Do some volunteering. It always helps on your resume. uh, I think that's much it for the resume. Project, I would say that find a nice group of people who have like similar thoughts like you, so that you can always work towards like building a project. And there's so many hackathons you can take part in where you can build your own project, you can have your own ideas. So I think these kind of things really help.
Okay. So platforms and resources you used to crack this opportunity.
So I used to do Code Chef very regularly. In the beginning, they have competitions and all. So every day, try to solve like 2 or 3 problems. Also on Lead Code, I used to do like regularly. Uh, for I used Geeks for like getting technical knowledge. Like I used to read a lot on Geeks for Geeks. I have never practiced problems over there, but they have like good explanations for some of the problems, like some of the famous problems. uh, Also, I would always make sure that all my DSA notes were really up to my mark, because your notes are the only ones that can help you while preparing. So that is one thing that always make your notes very well. So be it like DSA or algorithms or whatever they're teaching you, I think college does enough in that sphere that they give you enough knowledge for you to sail through your board.
So when it comes to practicing DSA, did you follow any DSA sheet or it was just like topic and questions?
So I didn't really follow a sheet as such. It was more of I would just list down the X number of topics we have, like the number of data structures we have, or the algorithms that I should be knowing, like one should be knowing. So I would just try to solve as many questions in that. So if I would pick up strings, then I would like do like about 40, 50 problems on strings. Then I would move on to the next one. I would do arrays, and I would do trees and graphs, and so on forth. I moved forward. So there was not any particular sheet, but then yeah, I did it topic wise, so that once I feel confident about a topic, I would move on to the next topic. And also I made sure like I do like some of the famous problems that are there, like the four queen four by four chessboard problem, or maybe if a rat is moving, so backtracking problems.
Basic
So
awareness.
Yeah, so a lot of times that happens that you do these problems, and they're the same problems are there in your uh, online assessment, so they always help a little because you know the approach, so it gets faster. Or even when you do these problems, at least you make sure that you're up to date with all your concepts. So such kind of problems really help.
Okay. So my last question would be, how was your experience at Barclays?
So it was a wonderful experience. I mean, once you go out of college, after your third year, when you're doing your internship, and you meet a lot of people and you get to know about their projects, you have like a wonderful opportunity to network with people, and you get to know what they are doing in life, like so much different than what you are doing. You get an broader perspective on what can be done. So once I went and met a lot of people there, then I got to know, oh, there are a lot of hackathons that one can do. There are a lot of beautiful projects that people do. And when you're in college, you're in a nutshell. But when you go for your internship, you get so much to learn from everybody. And regarding like my actual internship at Barclays, people there were very helpful. It was like the perfect taste of the corporate world for me. Getting like a little bit professional, and how things work. I mean, whatever you're learning is at a very small scale, and how it's actually used in the bigger world, how secure those systems are. And it's just wonderful how things are working out there in the corporate world. So I think I was just so awestruck by everything working at Barclays, uh, that I was in love with the corporate culture. I was like, this is the place for me. I really want to be here.
Okay. And the PPO offer, was there any procedure for that?
So basically, at Barclays, they don't have any interview system at the end of the internship. It's just like your manager, they will assess you over the 2 months, and they submit a feedback to the higher authorities or the HR people. And they also have like some basic trainings that you need to complete. So you need to be like very good with your work. I would say just be obedient to them, and report to them regularly about what you're doing. So basically, I think it goes as a manager feedback. There's no interview of any sort.
Okay. Thank you so much, Abhilasha, for this wonderful sharing of experiences.
Most welcome. I'm so glad to be here.